FMtraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. Hello, hello, hello. Hope y'all are having a lovely day, morning, evening, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is super exciting. I have been waiting for this stream all week and last week. Not that we haven't had a lot of lovely streams, but today is a really exciting one. We are doing a deep dive with Lucy Chen, the VP of Claris Engineering, and also Wei Ju, which is the FMS Architect, and Clay Maeckel, who is frankly one of the backbones of the FileMaker Engineering and the community. And we're doing that today. We're talking to them, we're asking them questions, we're interacting with them. We have never had some of these people on stream before. Clay has been stuck with us recently on stream several times over the past week, but we get to have all three here today to answer a huge variety of questions from the audience and actually interact with them, which is super exciting. Legit, I am very happy and excited that they're all here. We also are having them, frankly, for the rest of the week. I was just going to get into talking to Lucy, and I was getting too excited, but we're going to back up a little, remind you that we actually do this stream 5 days a week. So we have a lot of topics we're covering. FileMaker 2025 launched last week. We have Claris Engineering with us for 3 days, which is fantastic. Today is a general deep dive into FileMaker 2025 and a Q&A. And then the next 2 days are going to be the AI deep dive, which is the major feature part of this. Well, there's a lot of features in this release. But one of the bigger ones has been the AI release, which started in 2024 and has been vastly expanded in 2025. Because of that, after we have the Claris Engineering AI deep dives tomorrow and on Friday, we will be having 2 weeks with two of the busiest people, frankly, in the FileMaker community, but they've given us 5 days each of their time. We have Wim DeCourt and Todd Geist, and they will be covering AI completely from the beginning to their topics of choice for the next 2 weeks. So if you're like, I really want to get into AI, but I don't know anything about it, you should be attending the next several weeks worth of live streams. So, with that being said, Lucy, I'm going to start off with kind of a big question, but since you're here, I get to ask these. Can you tell us the story of what FileMaker has been doing over the past couple years? How we got to this point, how this release is so large? I'm really curious.
Well, first, thank you, Margaret. I'm just thrilled to be here. And thank you for the amazing FileMaker training every day. And a bigger shout out to the loyal community. So today, to support you, we have the FileMaker OGs here. Clay, Chief Architect, and the ultimate OG, Wade, Architect and Senior Dev Manager. And tomorrow and Friday, you have Connor, Derek Lee, and Derek Huang. So we support you. Thank you for the great work and keep up. So now let me share my screen. So I want to show you how confident I am for FileMaker today. And here are the FileMaker releases for the past few years since 2020. As you can see, we released a lot. Many people rate these charts differently. Here are the point of view I want to show you. Each bubble is a result of the hard work of FileMaker Ring Zero companies. They use FileMaker for a lot of stuff. And the community, FileMaker developers, ETS members. And the result is 19.3. We launched server for Ubuntu OS. 20.1. We scaled up the web direct to 1,000 concurrent users. 21.0. We introduced LLM feature phase 1, like semantic search. 22.0, today, we have LLM feature phase 2, in addition to bug fixes, multiple thousands of them. The quality is good. We love the feedback from the community, and they are the source of these bugs, features, and enhancement. So I'm delighted to say we found a future-proof winning formula to ensure we at Claris deliver what matters the most to the community. So thank you, the Ring Zero companies. Thank you, partners. Thank you, developers, and the kitchen members. So to get an ETS. So together, Claris community, thank you. Let's continue to build our future together. So before we hand off to go for the question and answers and Clay, so I want to show you this. This is the list of features we delivered in the past. Look at 22. Wow. FileMaker 2022 is definitely a game changer because not only we delivered FileMaker stability based on 21.1.5 available publicly, but also deeper integration of AI capabilities. That's why I call game changer. Any questions, Margaret?
I do actually have one. So since you're here and since I'm looking at this amazing list, seriously, I actually hadn't seen this. The doubling in size is insane. Uh, in terms of feature release. But I wanted to ask you, what's next? What can we expect to come next after this
Ah,
amazing release?
all right, all right. Naturally, let's look into the future. So we always look at FileMaker holistically, not specifically to one area or the other. And we also look at the things what's missing. So we're looking into high availability and low downtime. We're looking into AI features and safeguard your data. So I recommend you sign up for our kitchen and sign up for our ETS. You will be the first one to know. So let's get to the questions and to our OGs. So, Margaret, you take over. I will stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Lucy. This is fantastic, honestly. Super excited. And I will actually, people are like, oh, how do I get ETS? I will share the link where you can go sign up for ETS in all the chats. So you can go off and do that. So we've collected some questions from the community over the last couple weeks, frankly. So I'm going to start interrogating you all. This one was the first one that popped up when the release day happens. I'm going to throw this at you, Clay. It's about the Windows installation. Have you found a workaround to requiring FM22 to be the only installation on PC? I'm really used to having multiple versions installed and functioning simultaneously.
So one of the big features for 22 is that we wanted to make upgrading major releases to be automatic and to be done through the Sparkle system so that you'd be able to, if your license allowed it and you would say, oh, you want to upgrade to 22 now, you'd be able to say yes, and it would just update it. To do that, you pretty much have to have one folder and one ID to be able to do updates like this. I guess now that we found out that a lot of people really want to have multiple copies of it on the same machine, so we are working on a mechanism to change the updater to give you a choice when you actually run the updater or maybe the installer. It all hasn't been finalized yet to say, do you want to keep the current version somewhere? And what'll probably be happening is that'll be copied to another folder with a different name and leave it setting there. Now you can do this by hand right now if you want. You can, copy the current folder of the Windows installer or the Windows installation, and then basically go through, then delete the old one, let the old one get deleted, and install the new version. Then you'll have both on your machine. You'll have to set up links manually and stuff like that. But we're working on a mechanism to make that more automatic, and that's probably going to be something that'll be coming out in a patch soon. But that's really just an installer issue than anything else.
Okay, actually, that's really awesome because we get that question a lot. Well, half the user base is Windows, and we developers got very spoiled by having a whole Dragon's Horde's worth of FileMaker on their machines.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to be kind of like on the Mac. I mean, on the Mac, when you wanted to install a new version, you just drug it down there. It just replaced the current one called FileMaker Pro, but people learned how to rename it and copy it and all that stuff before. Now the Windows people get the same behavior.
There you go. We got a question about XML. You guys are really focused on AI. Have you forgotten about XML? Question mark.
I mean, well, one thing in this question, there's a lot of stuff about XML. I'm not sure which flavor or what you're talking about, but yes, we have been spending a lot of time on the XML stuff. If you were at some of the sessions yesterday when Vince was talking about his inspector and FM perception and stuff like that, we've been updating the save as XML output quite a bit, trying to make sure that everything that is inside FileMaker is located there, and making it so that these new tools can, do the presentations and summaries and all that stuff. We've also been spending a lot of time on updating and trying to finish out the FM upgrade tool, so you'd be able to feed this XML back in to make patches to FileMaker files. Basic high level, like doing full layouts, full accounts and all that stuff is in the 22 release now. You can patch and update that stuff now. You have to create the XML all manually, or well, you get it from the save as XML, and you have to create the patch files yourself. There's always more work about creating more tools to make the patching process easier. So you can just like say, compare this one to this one, and what do you want there and what do you want there. But the basic capabilities are there now.
There you go. That's pretty comprehensive, I think, because my guess is they were probably talking about the save as XML tool. So, XDBC. Is the FileMaker 2025 ODBC driver compatible with Windows 11 ARM? I keep getting error 193 trying to create a DSN on the Windows 11 ARM.
Yeah, the thing with ODBC drivers is they have to be the same architecture as the executable that the ODBC driver is trying to use. So if you remember a couple of years back when there was still a 32-bit version and a 64-bit of Windows applications, you'd have to use the 32-bit driver with 32-bit apps and 64-bit drivers with 64-bit apps. So it's not really what the operating system is supporting, is what the executable is. So the current 64-bit driver should be working fine with Intel compiled application. So if you have an older version of Excel, even though it's running on the ARM operating system being emulated, it should work fine there. But if you have the newer version of Excel that is built on the ARM chip, you're going to have to wait until we come out with a ARM version of ODBC driver, like we used to have of the 32-bit. So that'll be upcoming. But currently, right now, you can the Windows ODBC driver has to be run on an Intel-based application, not necessarily what operating system you're on.
Cool. There we go. We got some SSL questions, which is not a shock. What are the plans to ease the pain of maintaining SSL certificate life? Because they'll be shortening to 49 days in the future, particularly for certificates that are not from Let's Encrypt.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. One thing, if you want to know anything about SSL certificates and Let's Encrypt and all that stuff, you should watch Jacob Taylor's session that was last Friday, I believe, is when, or rewatch that one. Oh, he's logged in also. Now I see up there. But yeah, no, he's the just watch him and he'll give you better answers than me. But for future plans, I mean, I think I saw that they were bringing up ACME. There's other mechanisms for managing certificates out there, and we are looking at them. That's pretty much all I can say is, yeah, we know that this is going to be a bigger issue. Let's Encrypt seemed to be a nice thing because it was free. It was pretty simple to set up. And we've gone through and pushed that into the admin console and the admin APIs. But we're still working on that. I think there was I wrote some notes here. Also, the other thing is I know for doing updating certificates that, people want to be able to install the new certificate and then use it without having to restart the server. And that requires getting a lot of separate third-party software to be updated and be able to handle that too. I mean, when you change the certificate, it is not just the FileMaker service that has to be updated. We have to restart and get the different web servers, whether it's Nginx, IIS, or Apache, and they all do things different ways. So it's a complex process of finding the different mechanisms to get those to feed in the new certificates without starting them. And some of them you pretty much have to restart anyway. But I guess restarting the Apache, or I think it's the Apache one we have to restart. I forget which one. It's a little bit simpler than having to, kick everyone off of a server and redo that. But we're working with the third parties to upgrade their software to be able to do these things without a complete reinitialization of the operating of their code.
No, that makes perfect sense. But yes, also people who are like, well, what Friday session? I will link it. I will find it. I believe it's finished editing now. We do have an editing backlog of all these sessions, but I will share that out. What question was I going to ask? I saw one about cloud that I thought was interesting. Do you have any idea when Claris Cloud will be auto updated? Because we'll need to update all the computers accessing Claris Cloud before that happens.
Well, when Claris Cloud goes to 22, the 21 clients will still be able to talk to it just fine. You don't have to be exactly in sync, but the ones prior to 21 will lose access to it. So yes, you'll at least want to get all your clients talking to cloud up to 21. But the cloud release tends to lag 3 to 4 weeks after the 22 release comes out. So you have some time to get ready for that.
Yes.
Is that right, Lucy? Is that, I think I think that's when it's scheduled, or the plans. Yeah, I see her shaking her head. So yes.
Okay, got it. This is, let me flip through. We have some server questions that are popping up. So I'm gonna toss those out there. I've been having some major server issues with FileMaker Server 2024. It's been crashing daily. Do you have any idea how I can fix this?
Well, one thing is make sure. Well, let me go talk about the different vrevs that are out here. And this is kind of what Lucy was going on. Here, let me share my slide. This is stuff that I had created for the Vienna conference I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made some updates to it. So these are the more recent vrevs that have come out over the last few years. And this is kind of like for the 19.6 and the 20 series, there was like security issues that were coming from Apple, and that's why we did those updates. And these are basically all server updates. In the 21.1.2, there was a reconnect. Well, while fixing some of the issues from Apple and in those previous releases, we ended up introducing some issues when you did reconnects, because the order of how Go and Pro would do a reconnect after the network went down was triggering some of the security checkpoints that we added that Apple wanted us to add. The 21.1.3 release was fixing memory leak issues when running server-side scripts and CPU starvation of the server. 21.1.4 simultaneous server scripts and security caching. There was issues with that, and I believe there were some crashes that would be caused from that. And then there's a 21.1.5 where we fixed where an issue where themes would sometimes, well, we stopped themes from getting deleted unexpectedly, and there was a lot of third-party library updates. So for FileMaker 2024 issues, make sure you're updated up to the 21.1.5 release. We haven't had many complaints about issues with that version of it. And while I'm here, on Lucy's little chart, you saw, if you looked closely, you saw some like future vrevs that were on our chart. So some of these are waiting. There's been some issues with web servers that there's CVE documents coming out and stuff like that. Some of it is from like last year, and there's still some more being done now, and we're waiting for Apple to give us the clear to say that, okay, this stuff is all fixed, and waiting for all the different the web servers to get their releases ready for that. And when we get that news, we'll probably do a 20.3.5 release, mainly updating third-party software and like Nginx and stuff like that. It'll be similarly for the 21.1.6. We did find a few more starvation issues in server. And I think there was one hang on close, or when you were quitting and stuff like that we fixed there. So there is going to be a 21.1.6 version coming up soon. And then there's then what I was talking about, how we're working on updating the Windows installer. So a 22.0.2 release. It'll have, well, some of the security fixes that are going in that one are the ones that are also going into 20.3 and 21.1. But there's a lot fewer security issues there, but we're still getting the ones that Apple's telling us to fix. And there's a few other fixes that are causing some people issues. So the 22.0.2 release will be both Pro and server. and probably Go also, because like one thing is we found out that the help in Go is still pointing to an earlier version of the help and not the most recent version. So
Yes, the little fiddling like that.
yeah.
I have a question about, actually, hilarious enough, some third-party stuff. I was looking at the 2025 feature list, and there mentioned that you guys have added third-party libraries. What libraries have you added?
Well, actually, those are all like AI. They're mainly all AI libraries and stuff like that are being used. We've been updating a lot of the older libraries for things, but actually, do I have that slide? I wasn't even. So this is as of earlier this year. These are all the third-party updates that we've been doing and things that we've been. And this doesn't actually include all the LLM, but if you just want to see all the base ones. That server uses that we do for ODBC. Antler has been one of the big upgrades. We've moved from the 3 series to the 4 series. So that's where we're getting some of the ODBC or the SQL improvements coming through there. The OpenSSL updates, those are, well, we were on 3.3, I guess, but we found out that when we built them before this release, we had built it with the optimization flags turned off. So we've just rebuilt, we haven't updated to a new version. We've actually just rebuilt the OpenSSL libraries with all their optimization flags turned on to take advantage of, hardware accelerated instructions and stuff like that. So that's that list, but that, I don't see, I don't have the LLM and the AI stuff in there, and then maybe you'll probably hear about those or ask about those for tomorrow.
Yes, that'll be part of the next few sessions, which will be really wonderful. So we have some, here we go. This question from YouTube. Is there an advantage to using a Mac Mini with Apple Silicon for FM server? The good old, what hardware should I stick my server on question.
Oh, well, okay. You'll have to hear tomorrow about LLM and the requirements for running OpenAI. The hardware requirements are very different for when you're doing AI work, and they're much higher and larger. So I'm not sure whether a Mac Mini would actually be useful for that purposes. But for FileMaker, the biggest hardware thing for FileMaker is always getting the fastest hard drive you can, because we're usually mainly disk-based and stuff like that. Now, if you're running a bunch of WebDirect clients on your server, then you really want to also look at adding more RAM and having more RAM available to handle all the multiple sessions. So the hardware requirements, it's really hard to actually say what you need unless we know exactly what you're trying to do, because different things will require different type of hardware, whether you have a bunch of sessions that are running on the machine itself. I mean, if you're doing AI work, then you'll probably be wanting to buy these expensive, graphics co-processors to plug into your machine to do the AI processing and stuff like that. But the Mac Mini, the new Mac Mini with ARM is a very decent machine for a work groups type of operation. Now, I probably wouldn't want to do the test that Wade's going to be showing of trying to run 1,000 WebEx clients or WebDirect clients on it. But for a work group, for 50 users, 60 users, if you get a good sized drive and don't skim on the memory too much, it should be a pretty decent machine.
Yeah, speaking of Wade's presentation, because I'm going to let people percolate and generate some more questions. They're sitting there.
Yeah, I guess we should move on to Wade so he can talk. Since I brought up the topic of 1,000
since you brought it up,
users,
I sensed a transition.
Yes.
So, can we show off the 1,000 concurrent users? Is that what you're showing off today, Wade?
Sure. Okay. So first, here is a draft architectural diagram, and so I think you can reference that's the one we use to test the 1,000 concurrent web client users. So first, you see the Nginx as the load balance in the DMZ zone. So that means the Nginx is between the outside firewall and the inside firewall. And there are 2 versions of Nginx. One is the free open source version, and the other one is the paid version. So for better performance, the paid version has a better load balancing. And also one feature you might need is the paid version has the sticky sticky flag for the session. As you know, the web direct needed to keep the state. So the Nginx Plus actually has a better load balancing than the free version. And then inside firewall, you see the primary server, which is the database server, and several secondary server. So we intentionally to leave the primary server not to serve the web traffic, that it concentrate to perform the database operation. So this will good in general for response time and for scalability. And we provide in the test that we use the Docker instance. The reason we use Docker is if for a secondary server, it probably good to serve 100 concurrent web direct user. However, if say 1,000, that means you need 10 machines. But when you use the Docker, technically speaking, as long as your secondary server is good, you might be able to run 2 instances of Docker instance, or 3 instances of Docker, or even 4 instances of Docker. So that will save you in management. So we provide in the Ubuntu distribution, we provide the FM Docker installer.sh, the shell script. So you can use that one to compile the Docker file and the general Docker instance and run the Docker along with IP address and make a VLAN and also the certificate. And we also provide the Nginx load balancer shell script, the Nginx lb.sh. So that one can help you to set up the configuration for your Nginx file. So we try to help you out to either Nginx open source version or Plus version. So we'll try to help you out that you just uncomment out the necessary part. If you want to see more detail, you can check the engineer blog. So we have engineer blog online since 2 years ago. Okay, so the next one I'm going to show you the quick demo. So this one is we run the server as I described before on the Ubuntu, and with the Nginx Plus as the load balancer. And I intentionally leave the primary server without WebD traffic. And then I already have a 10 secondary server connected to it. Oh, by the way, this version actually is FileMaker 20. So we have been able to do this since FileMaker 20, the 20.0.1. So you can see right now all the 10 secondary server connect to it, and the Nginx aware of it to distribute traffic. So right now I'm going to start our automation testing script. So using the Apple script and using the Chrome to simulate the user. So you can see a lot of screen flash up. And the database file we use is called KPI. We have a testing database called KPI, roughly about 1.3 gigabyte. So not really that big, but it's a good size to test. Okay, so now you can see you already see I got 238 connections. And when you look around, you can see the Nginx actually distribute those connections quite evenly among these secondary servers. So Nginx actually can sense how good the secondary server are and try to distribute evenly to those machines capable of doing that. Okay. So I fast forward a little bit. So you can, now we reach 1001. So there are 1001 web direct connection right now with the system. So yeah, you can double check everything here. And now let's switch to see when we have at least more than 1,000 WebD connection connect, how good the performance is. Think of this way, you want a lot of people on there, but you still want to make sure their response time, when they do insert, update, delete, find, the performance is okay. So let's quickly see that. So at this point, I have the 1034 WebP user. So now I'm going to click the Launch Center and connect from this machine and to the Web Direct. Okay, here we go. So here is the KPI. You can see the KPI DB. Okay. So let's double click it. Okay, and you can pick. That's just a typical WebD interface. You can pick any layout you want going to. So right now I'm in the older system. So I'm going to create a new record. And then I will pick the custom ID from the value list. You might notice the value list, the population take a little bit longer. Okay, so then I'm going to create one more order item. So the thing is, remember right now there are more than 1,000 users competing with us. So you can see a little bit teeny tiny delay latency there if you watch carefully. But in certain way, I think that's probably can be acceptable for most users. And now, right now, I try to implicit commit. I said click somewhere to let it commit the record. And then since we have a record, right now let's test out whether I can find it. How fast we can find the record. Okay, so as I type the order ID, okay, so you can see the order we created found it. And let's see how quick we can delete the record. Okay, so the record is deleted. Yeah. And we can try to find again to make sure that the record really deleted. Okay, so no record find. Okay, thank you. So that's a quick demo for this 1,000 users. So another question, and talking about the people asking about what we have improved in this version. So we have improving in the server connection and thread scalability. So in the thread part, for database server, we improve the notification ticket and the connection management. So the way is the way we improve that is we integrate the dispatch queue, or some of you might know this as a Grand Central Dispatch, GCD. And on Windows side, we integrate the Microsoft Windows Thread Pool for the database, the DB server sending thread. So the benefit of that is first, we eliminate the limitation of 100 maximum sending threads on database server. And that also will cut down the starvation Clay mentioned before. And also we use the same techniques to improve the script engine with dispatch queue and the Microsoft Windows Thread Pool. And also we fix memory leak in the script engine. And on accepting connection improvement part, the database engine, you know, the Draco, actually we use Army org to accept the incoming connection. So we change it to use a thread pool. So when a new connection comes in, it will use any available thread in the thread pool instead of using the thread affiliation. So previously, say like a connection A from a particular IP, it always use the thread A. And so with the thread pool, that means if the machine A, the IP A have a new connection comes in, it can pick any available thread in thread pool instead to stick to the thread affinity. So that can help the response time for the connection from the same host. Okay, so that's it for my quick demo.
I mean, it's
Thank you.
impressive. I have not actually seen that demo, frankly. I knew that you could have 1,000 WebD users, and that's incredibly important. I have several people who watch the stream who are medical personnel, and they usually have FileMaker on WebDirect instead of going around installing it on machines everywhere because they don't want to have to handle the machine installations. But that demo was impressive, and seeing the improvements is also really awesome. We've had some questions sneak in on me. Oh yeah, some people didn't realize you can make secondary admin server users, which is how do you create a secondary admin server user? It's one of the questions that popped up.
So technically speaking, there are no quote unquote secondary admin user. So the admin on the primary server can manage the secondary server. And besides that, as you know, I think we introduced the admin role probably in 19.6. So if say you're reluctant to give an admin password to all the people, you can have this kind of power user admin roles. You can create some admin roles to manage certain things.
Oh, kind of a question from Eric. I don't know which one of you will want to tackle this, but is there maybe any plans to make it easier to build using web technologies? Maybe using frameworks like Angular. I know there's a way to load into WebViewer, but it doesn't feel great. Question mark.
Actually,
yeah.
I've been seeing people. Well, I think I saw this on the Discord channel too. That using the different AI mechanisms out there. I mean, OData is a standard API, so you should be able to talk to your favorite AI bot and say, here, make me a web page that has this, that on it, use Angular, and talk to this ODBC data supplier. Going through and writing new tools in this world of AI is like I kind of want to wait and just see what you can do with that at this point before going out and spend 2 years writing this brand new tool that's going to be obsolete in 6 months because AI is going to be doing so much better. So I mean, we are going to be improving how things that you can do in Claris Studio and with our current tool sets, but coming up with a brand new web development tool set, I don't see us doing anytime soon.
No, that makes sense. We have a small collection of random feature requests, which I'm going to toss at you, and then you can either deflect and go like, Margaret, why are you doing this to me? Or we can handle somewhere else. Can you finally introduce, I'm going to rephrase this. Are you guys intending to introduce a calculation as an option for value lists?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're rearranging some stuff and bringing that quality of life team back to life, I guess. And we were doing some work. We had some kitchens on, what to change in value lists and stuff like that. So we do have a bunch of ideas. We do have a potential functional specs. It is on the list of things to do. You can't say when we're going to do it, but that is one of the ideas of using a calc to generate, and basically other mechanisms to generate value lists, not just necessarily a calc. But we do have a bunch of ideas and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure when we'll get around to that, but we do have internal potential features mapped out.
There you go. Which I think is probably the answer to most features is we're thinking about it or we thought about it, and we'll get back to you when, understandably, because you guys only added how many features this release? I just pulled up the release notes to look at them again, and I was like, oh my god, the list goes on. Funny. This is a fun question, so I'm going to toss it to you. What are your guys' favorite feature that you've added this release? Sorry.
I spent a lot of time on the JSON improvements, so I guess I'll do the one that I actually had the most hands-on experience with. Usually I'm watching over other teams writing features and stuff like that, so they don't feel like my features at this point and stuff like that. But at least the JSON optimization is stuff that I worked on completely. But so that would be my answer, but that's just kind of a selfish answer. But I don't know whether Wade or Lucy has their favorite feature, or maybe Jacob has his favorite feature, since I see he's online too. So
I always have to offer my favorite feature as not being woken up at night by a FileMaker server falling over. And 21, actually 20 really, but 21 solidified that. And if 22 continues building on that, which from all of your statements it has and will continue to, that's going to be my favorite feature. That's a little bit of a side comment, but when I first was hired here at RCC in 2018, a lot of my Mondays were putting FileMaker servers back together, if you will. I don't do that anymore. So that's
Reliability is one of the things that we will definitely put on the highest priority before we release any new ones. Continue to build on 21.1.5.
yeah, I don't know whether it was Rick or someone else in the product marketing saying that the best server is a boring server. That's what you don't want an exciting one. You want a nice, boring, just runs in the background. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Margaret mentioned about there's one customer mentioned in their server got daily crash. Technically speaking, in this release, we fixed several corner cases. One of them actually is related to a corner case when you have an EAR, the encryption database, and you also turn on the persistent cache. And with couple or combination, that one can potentially lead to crash. Yeah. Even though the persistent cache will protect you not to corrupt it. So that one, technically speaking, that one probably one of the favorite fix. So the good news, we already put that into this release. And so for the customer, I would suggest the customer encountering the frequent crash, please send us the crash dump so we can check whether that's the same or different. If different, we will fix it. Thank you.
So Margaret, do you have the source of that question, where it's from? Can I get that directly?
I do actually. It is a question that I collected a couple days ago, but I have the username, and I will
I'll
send
talk
them
to you after.
No, it's an interesting because frankly, I think we have a customer recently, not recently, Jacob, but there was a couple people that we had that were having crashing issues, mostly because their files were corrupted.
Yep.
Because they didn't recover them cleanly. But Claris has been super, like any major bug where it's actually like a server problem and not the customer, oh, I used my crashed file 5 times. You didn't realize you weren't supposed to do that. Claris has been really amazing about fixing, right? Like there's been a couple cases in the last year that I think that they've like tackled that out of the gate.
No, I've made comments on some of the previous streams. There's I always say there's one bug outstanding. I think it's not outstanding anymore. I think it's fixed in 22 and my customer is not on that specific version. So you all are released, you're good to go. But that is the client where and I worked closely with Claris tech support on this all the way. They ferried back and forth with engineering. Thanks everyone for doing that, basically. But that it took a year to finally get a good reproduction on it was a very specific combination of plugins, server-side scripts, backups, literally 7 different things occurring simultaneously, causing this bug to pop out. And yeah, the side effect for the customer was the software would crash, but it's fixed now. And mitigated in 21, I'm told mostly. It also doesn't crash now. So I think that's just thumbs up. I love it, but fixed, capital F, fixed in 22. So that was the only one that I was even still tracking. All of the other stuff that I've filed with Claris at this point has basically been resolved, knocked out as, closed fixed or closed shipped or closed about to be shipped. It's in 22, I'm sure. So whatever's outstanding.
So in the future, anyone who has issues, contact our support. They will escalate that to us. It's going to take some coordination with the customer directly to resolve that. So we'll need crash dumps, we need the logs and whatever that is. So be patient with us. We'll be on it. Yeah. Contact support. Thanks.
No, absolutely. Which and support's been fantastic. I also had a bug in the last release that has been fixed now for this release, because the product is constantly improving and constantly becoming greater and better with every release. Ha! This is a funny one. I'm actually going to answer this question. I know you're all waiting for me to answer questions, but someone's like, button name calculations. Those exist. You use button bars. If you want to have a calculation and on a button, we have the button bar. There's also layout calcs, frankly, if you want to like put that on top of a button somewhere. It's very easy. So yeah, pull up a button bar, delete all the buttons until you have one button left in the button bar, and there should be an option to do a calculation with it. So there's a lot. Frankly, there's so many features in FileMaker that I understand when people go like, "Can I do this?" And frankly, a lot of the times the answer is yes. Okay, we have more feature requests because this is the nature of people. When they see engineers, they're like, "Oh, can you bring me my bring me this gift for Christmas?" Which is understandable. Is there any chance we will be seeing reusable layout elements, example, for like menus or native FileMaker elements? Isn't that kind of what the export as XML tool is heading towards?
It'll be one of the potential uses for it. I mean, that's why we're working on this low-level stuff to be able to feed in XML and make changes and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of possible different ways that you could go from there. And we're hoping that, much like Proof Guy says, taking the migration tool, which is a low-level tool, much like the upgrade tool, and has this whole infrastructure based around it where they can manage multiple machines and going through, and you have your whole lifetime experience of going from development to staging to production. And that's what we're going to hope is going to happen with the upgrade tool too, is that there may be a whole bunch of other tools out there from multiple vendors, creating different patching schemes or different libraries. One of the things that are tasked, I guess, on the XML work in the future is, the goal is to get rid of the DDR, which is kind of what we call XML1, and finally get all the rest of the features that the DDR, the database design report does, so that you can be able to do that with the new save as XML. We want to move that stuff over there, which includes just exporting portions of the XML, not having to dump everything into one large file. So if you just want a particular layout or a particular custom menu or something like that, and that will make the lifetime of doing like libraries of reusable objects that you can insert much easier. And also the clipboard format of XML. If any of you are using those plugins that allow you to grab the XML that's going through the clipboard, it's not actually the same format as the save as XML. So we're going through and wanting to redo that. That is actually like a XML 1.5 version, where the save as XML is XML 2 version. So right now we're managing 3 different versions of XML, and we're trying to go through and collapse everything down just to this new version of it, which will make these other tools and managing it and saving things in libraries. And we'll probably even change it so that the XML will just be visible on the clipboard, so you won't need a tool. So you just be able to copy and paste it into a container field or a text field, and it'll just sit there and you can manage it inside FileMaker. That's some of the different ideas that we're looking at.
I see. I see an AI question, Lynn. I will put that on the list for tomorrow. We can ask that to the AI engineers tomorrow.
Though that actually does lead into something that's I think is being worked on now. I think.
Okay, well in that case, I'll toss it at you.
But that's the problem, is that when we get feature requests like this, people are always thinking very specific about their one particular problem. And one of the things we try to do is figure out how you can use this in more ways. I talked about this yesterday with Vince when we were talking about how to move record sets around in the JSON and stuff like that. But that all, basically came from the AI work. But then we were looking at, well, if we're adding this, if we make these tweaks and stuff like that, it can be usable in more ways than just that. And this is the same with LLM field comments. I mean, putting the LLM tags in there is a different issue, but we're working on a mechanism so that when for every field that you have, that you can, and this has been coming from other requests, that you can have multiple names for it. And so like if the end user is going to see it, so, maybe, with these naming conventions, you see fields like ZZ, C underscore something based on the rules the different developers are doing to create their field names, so they can manage them that way. But when an end user sees it in the sort dialog, they say, what does ZZC underscore 32 mean? So we're looking at being able to add comments and tags for particular things, so that you'll be able to add tags to a field for like LLM purposes or for other purposes, and multiple different names. So saying, what name to use for this field, when it's in the sort dialog. Or we haven't, I mean, we're trying to cut it back so it's not as confusing. But we're even thinking about maybe that you'll be able to localize your field names, and then depending on what version of what OS or what language settings you have, then all your field names will show up and sort in the language that is for that particular how you have the OS configured to display your app. So yeah, we're looking at more than just LLM field comments. There is a new feature that you can have table comments right now too, but basically the same thing I mentioned about fields would probably be true for tables too.
That's actually really cool. That's going to be a fun addition. So there you go. Oh, we got a question about XML and XSLT libraries. Did you compile the libraries with the large file flags? In Xerces/Zollin, we can work with huge files in the new libxml and libxlst. The file size is limited.
I didn't compile those libraries. I'll have to track that down with the people that we're working on replacing the different libraries in there.
Yes,
where I was sitting is that we needed to fix. But one thing, the Xerces and Xalon wasn't supporting Unicode, even the Unicode 3 properly and stuff like that. So that's one reason why we had to switch libraries and to support more XSLT stuff. But the lib, yeah, I'm not sure what flags were used to compile that. I mean, if you gave me 10 minutes or so, I could probably figure it out, but we'll be done by then. So.
Yes, alas, I can't I can't send Clay on a mission across Claris headquarters to answer the question for you. The answer exists. Is there a way to know which layouts need to have modifications to improve loading performance? I mean, that's kind of just something you would learn through development, right? Like remove if your layout is like loading poorly suddenly, look at what you recently have changed.
Well, and something that we see in a lot of slow layout loading objects, it's like usually one of two things. Either they have a bunch of conditional calcs or visibility calcs that are like doing large SQL statements to figure out what the answer is. So that affects the loading and when you're rendering. So that'd be one thing is look at how many calcs you have hooked up to whether conditional formatting or visibility. And then the other portion is just the portal work that's sometimes done. And that's really more of a problem. I mean, there's different techniques if you've gone to different sessions and, how to improve, what your relationships look like and stuff like that. But someday, hopefully, we'll spend more time on, maybe trying to automate that or tell you what's going on. I know, Hansa is like pushing us to put more diagnostics in there to measure everything so you can, output that. And then, and we are listening to him and, I do make him happy ever so often by improving things. But yeah, no, there's a lot more stuff for, the script actions and, triggers that are being, so, there's so many different things you can hook up to a layout now, like just displaying a layout could, fire off a bunch of script triggers at the same time. So, and that's what Hansa wants is he wants, basically like a tracing program to say, what is going on and how long it took. So you get these, monster logs. Then you'll have to have a tool to go through all those logs to figure out what it is. But all the different operations, how long it took that calc to do that visibility operation and, run this script trigger. And so,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just, And some of the tools like Inspector and FM Perception, does do some looks at some of your layouts and gives you some hints and stuff like that. I actually haven't looked at the most recent version of Inspector yet, so
We'll be having a session on that, so we can ask Vince then. But yeah, I mean, there's also we have a lot. FMTV, frankly, has a ton of videos on controlling performance. There is a certain level as a FileMaker developer when you stop just like putting stuff on and going like, oh, it works and I'm happy, and then you go, wait, this is slow, because you begin sharing with people and you're like, and often it's frankly how you coded it or how you designed it, or like Clay was saying you stacked a billion conditional formatting on every button available on your layout, things like that. That'll begin dragging your database down. But it's just because you've put too much into one bag is what happens there. That's very easy to fix. Well, it's simple to fix. Easy depends on your definition of easy. Usually it just means you need to put time in and sit there and refine your development and your layouts. So here's a JSON question. Does JSON parsing also help set element calls?
Yes, because usually you're doing set element into a JSON object, and if what you're inserting to has been parsed already. So if you have a variable and you're inserting something into that variable, it doesn't have to create the binary version to do the insertion. And actually, after you do the insertion, it won't necessarily generate the text after you do. So when you do a set element, the result from the function is just the new binary representation, and it'll just set like that without the textual representation until the text is actually needed for some purpose, like the data viewer or being saved to disk or being displayed on screen, or you use some text-based operator on that variable to give me the first line or something like that. So
does the go-to list of records respect a range created by get record IDs from found set?
I believe that's what that script. Giving me script names right now at this point is hard because the names kept changing all the time. So I think that's what it takes I think that is the script step that takes the result of the get record list. Yeah.
So it should respect a range. I think you should be fine.
Yeah, it does the range format. I think all the formats that we generate with that calc function can be consumed by the that script step.
Yeah, that would make sense because there's an option to generate a range of formats. Yeah, some other developers are confirming it does in fact respect the range. So you're good on that front, friend. It is 2 p.m. already. The hour flew by. Do any of you have closing comments that you want to say before I release you all back to getting busy and not sitting here yapping with me?
So I would say 2025 is a great product. So if you have any issues, let us know. We'll make it even better as we move forward. So we're really confident. You can trust the original gangsters of FileMaker.
I love that description. That's fantastic. I am quoting that regularly now. You said that goes into my vocabulary forever. This is awesome. 2025 has been awesome. Thank you for the thank you. It's always super excites me when I get like a comment from a Claris engineer. I'm like, like it makes my day. Like I get very excited. And like Jacob knows because I'll send him messages because sometimes I realize that the engineers are watching our streams and I'm like, and it always makes me super happy because it makes us feel very listened to. So thank you for thanking us. Thank you for being the engineers. I personally want to thank you. FileMaker is a hugely important product to me. I grew up with it. I think I'm one of the only people in the community who can say that this database software is literally my childhood. So I have a great love for it, and seeing it so vastly improve and continue to improve means a lot to me. And seriously, if you're like, how much is in 2025 really? Go look up the release notes and scroll. It's insane. There is a lot to add. With that all being said, yes.
Yes, we want explosions now, right?
Oh,
is that
yes,
what Richard always says?
Yes, we always do the explosions. We have the explosions of wonder and joy because that's how live stream ends. Bye, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.